G'day mate, and welcome to Factorio with me, JD. The mod I've actually chosen to highlight this week is the Train Supply Manager by Lord Couture. Now, I actually first had a look at this mod very briefly in a really early access, like 0.3 or something. When I first wandered through his, I did a base tour of his SpaceX Mega Base, right? And it had 600 383 trains all being moved around his train network, all being controlled by this mod, which I both found fascinating and intriguing all at the same time. So since that time, I've actually been actively getting updates about this mod, trying out where and when I can, and waiting for him to get into a point where he was happy to release it. And that's why this mod highlight is today, because today's the day it releases, so today's the day I want to actually highlight this mod. Where to start? Research, probably. So, it has one single research to unlock the mod. It costs 50 red and green sites, which I still think is a bit too cheap, and you can tell Lord Couture down in the comments as well that you think it's too cheap, because he's going to watch the video at some stage too. It unlocks 3 items. So we have the supplier train stop, the requester train stop, and the train requester entity combinator, magic light, whatever you want to call it. Now, we're going to set up a fairly normal train station, and I'm going to run you through a quick demonstration. I'm not going to even try to demonstrate everything, especially the smarts on this mod, because, let's be honest, nobody wants to watch me fumble around trying to get smarts to work. I do know they work. I have got them to work once, but then it's smarts, and I'm not smart, so I broke them promptly thereafter. So, I have a nice train stop, iron ore, and we're just going to fill up a cargo wagon. I'm going to cap it nice and short. And we're going to have this train go to iron ore, inventory full, nice and simple. And then we need to go to a supply train stop. So I'm going to whack down a couple of these. And these are basically the same as a passive provider chest. Okay, it's somewhere for a train to park that has a certain item in it. And we're going to call these I have iron ore, just to make the naming schema nice and simple. And copy all those across. So I'm going to take this train. I'm going to send it to iron ore, from iron ore to I have iron ore with a circuit condition. Now the idea of a circuit condition is this will stop the train from running around. And I need to copy the orders to these trains. And the train's just going to sit there and wait until we're ready for it. So here's full, obviously. Swap these guys to automatic. And off we go. So it's going to park these trains up here. Now, these trains can be parked anywhere in your base whatsoever. I think the best way to describe this mod is it sort of fixes the worst parts of a distributed smelting setup, which I've liked and hated for years now. But this mod seems to fix things as best as possible. I've just realised that I've got trains parked in the way. Of course I do. Of course I do. Change that to a real signal. We're just going to delete that signal. Just for a second. There we go. Okay. So, up here, I need to request a train station. Okay. And I need to call you I want iron plate. Now I need to program the trains to go from here to here. And the way we do that is in this little interface up here, we have a list of supplier train stations, okay? So this is trains that are parked at these stations along with a train ID number. So in the case of, train 66, the one that keeps running you over time and time again, you can see where he's parked and find the guy. You can see on the bottom right hand side there's a train ID. Train number 66 is right here. So when you need to nuke him because he just ran you over for the 5th time, you know where to find him. All right. So that is the list of the current trains at supply stops. We have a requester stop, all right, which is currently blank because I haven't set anything up. We have source priorities, which is actually what I need to set next. So I need to say I want iron ore, which is the resource ID, and that's for your benefit only. The mod doesn't care. It's so you know what's on the train. And for simplicity's sake, I'm going to actually say ore again. And I'm going to select that these come from I have iron ore, because that's what I want to set up, and save. So when I choose an ID iron ore, it's going to automatically source the trains from I have iron ore station. Okay? And the way we fix that up is we take this little lighty thing, hook this up to this magic constant combinator train counter here, and we'll just get rid of those two. If I click on this, it gives us all the power in the world. So the priority is what we want and from which priority of supplier train stations we want. So at the moment, I'm going to use the iron ore one I just set up. And I'm going to ask for trains on the way to be 1. And as you can see, the light lit up for half a second because we're calling a train. That one, which of course, one more signal. There we go, JD signaled. Alright, so this train's going to come here, and it automatically gets the orders of iron ore to iron ore. I have iron ore with a circuit condition to I want iron ore with an empty cargo inventory and a 5 seconds or 5 seconds of inactivity. So you've got to make sure you can empty those trains fairly quickly. Okay. Now, from here, I've got another normal train station, plate out. I've got this train set to plate out, inventory full. And then up here, I want another set of supplier train stations. And I want these guys to be called iron plate. I have iron plate. There we go. That's the one I want. I already have one set up. So I can set up some of the orders on some of these trains. So we're going to turn him. I have plate. Circuit condition again. Set my train on the way. He's going to go there. He's going to pull in. He's going to pull in. I'm going to send you for a race around the map. And all these trains are going to park up here. Same story again. I need to set up the exact same condition, except this time round, we're going to go into the define the supply sourcing priorities. I'm going to ask for iron plate, and then instead of calling it just giving it iron plate, I'm going to set it for signal I. And we're going to set that from I have plate. That's the train station we want it to come from. We're going to save that again. I'm going to put down this combinator again, wire it up to the train counter again. I'm going to say I, which we already know looking at this is I have iron plate. We want trains on their way to be less than, or trains on their way to be greater than 1. All right. So we've got a train coming here. Boom, we're making gears. And we all know how gear factories work. You put iron plate in and it all disappears pretty instantly. Now, as I was going to try and set off some smarts here and explain that, you know, you can use this to set smarts off wire conditions and everything else. And me being me, I failed miserably. But the power of this mod comes from, look, right at the moment, I've got 2 trains here, 1 train in the station. It's going to call another one straight away. All right, and we can see with this outstanding requests one that as far as the mod's concerned, everything's running perfectly fine. We can see suddenly I is needed because we don't have a train right there. It's now filled. It's going to be opened up again. No, that's outstanding requests. So outstanding request is fine. If I set this to 3, we can see gears needed a train. This light is on. This light is off. This light is on. I do not have enough trains. If I set this to 4, I definitely don't have enough trains. You can see how I'm definitely short of trains down here. Okay, so outstanding requests, I gears needs more iron. So what I can actually do is I can come in here, I can click this E button and say, you know what? If you don't have any plate down here at all, for whatever reason, we can use a priority system. So we can say, look, On the far side of the map, being all the way down here, I have these backup iron plate trains. You know, they're sitting here in a stacker. They're designed to go to Red Science, for argument's sake, or off to your military or whatever. Like, military is a good example because you don't use military all the time. But if you do, it needs a lot of iron. If it's currently off because you're researching mining productivity, for argument's sake, in your standard mega base, what you can actually do is reallocate those plate resources elsewhere. So when I set this to backup iron supply and I click update, you can see the mod's going to say I have plate as the first station it takes from. And then if there's none there, take it from the backup iron supply. And as you can see, trains have already started leaving. We're calling trains like nobody's business to satisfy this requester up here. And now you can see, if I get rid of some of this stuff, the outstanding request has been filled. If I go to this train counter, I said let 4, and you can see 4 trains are being called at all times. Now, that's where the real power of the mod starts, being able to call different items from different spots. Now, there are a couple of mod options, and I'm going to go over these really, really briefly. We've got auto update, which is always good to tick, right? And this actually updates this outstanding requests window. Now, you can actually have that so it auto updates, or it only updates when you open and close this window. Okay, that's basically what that option does, and it's actually, as I said, the mod's just come out today. It was actually something I requested when doing this little map, because I wanted some sort of feedback from the mod to say, hey, I'm working, you know, I'm holding up my hand, I'm actually working. The other thing that I requested, is probably the best way of putting it, is look, so I had to add this turbo mode button. And that's purely because my test map was so small, I needed trains to launch basically instantly. What this does is it just adds a small delay, like 1, 2, 3 seconds between deploying each train, right? As I said, like on his base, this used 0.2 milliseconds of update. Most mods that you look at are in the 5 or 6, 0.5 to 1 millisecond update time. This is so UPS optimized, it's not funny. But if you're ever running a problem, he does have a button here that makes it slightly less responsive, which is fine unless you're running a really, really tiny base, at which point UPS is not a problem. If you're running anything sort of large and you are running into UPS problems, this won't make any sort of difference apart from a little bit less UPS. And it also has a refueling amount. So it'll actually automatically refuel all your trains. Now, we're going to set this to 40. Now, that is not 40 items in the train. That is a percentage of megajoules available in the train, is probably the best way of putting it. So, in the case of this train here, I've got basically nothing. So it will get set off to be refueled. And the way these trains go through their fuel orders is they go to, once they get an order, and that's how it works. Once they get an order and complete their order, so this one made it to gears, afterwards it goes to go get fuel. Not before. It has to wait till it gets a complete round of orders to finish doing what it needs to do, to then go to a refueling station and go grab fuel. Right? And the beauty of this mod is it works with either single or double-headed trains. It doesn't care. And the fuel train station, the fuel stop, is simply called Fuel Stop 1. And it will automatically call any trains that have one locomotive at the front to come in here to fuel. If you're running 2-4-2s, then, or a 2-4 train network, then all you need to do is call this train stop 2, and any locomotives that have 2 trains or 2 engines at the start will then refuel there instead. If you happen to have a 2-4-2, then you just have to space out the refueling for the end locomotives further back. But yeah, it works automatically by just working out how many locomotives you've got at the front, and that's how it fuels things. If you had a 383, you just call it fuel stop 3 and fuel up the first 3 locomotives, and you'll be good to go. So that is the basics of the train controller. We also have a couple of other key buttons here. So we've got supplier keys. So we need to slow everything down. We've got too many trains on the network. Let's set you back to 1. So I have iron ore 91. Says this train number 91, is going to be the next train to leave the station. What's this? I already missed it. I have iron ore. 83 is going to be the next train to leave. Backup iron supply. I got 2 trains here. And it tells me train number 59, being this one, is going to be the next one called. Right? So again, used for debugging, used for trying to work out how your trains are moving around. Go away. We have supplier train stops. So this lists every single supplier train stop. And we have the outstanding request, which we've already covered. Yes, there is also smarts, as I said. I'm not qualified. I hold my hand up. I cross my heart. I hope to die. So not qualified to show those off. But that pretty much wraps up the mod. It is a great little mod. I've actually installed it already on the community map after spending countless hours playing with it, both in this base and in his base, and with a couple of other test bases as well. It is a great little mod. I highly recommend it. Down in the description, you'll find a link to the mod, which has actually just been released. As said, he's actively developing it. It's had, I think it's gone through about 5 revisions in the last week alone. We're just ironing out the last couple of bugs and adding a couple of features, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. And if you're interested in the mod, check it out in the link description below. All right, bye.